Pastor Laffoon here for your life, your marriage, and your family, coming to you from beautiful downtown Alma and Audio Foundry Studios. Welcome to this installment.
Well, we're going to continue with our back to school series we talked about technology last week. We're going to talk about more about technology this week. We're going to talk to you about prayer and how to pray for your family as they go back to school. We're just going to give you some tips for going back to school. In early October, I want you to put this on the calendar because you want to watch this. We're going to have a lady come in, our friend Katie Mora, who's going to come talk to us about food and
nutrition.
Back to school and helping your kids get that stuff. But today we want to continue talking about technology.
We've got something to announce first.
Oh, that's right. Our daughter turned 17 today. 17, we're not that old. I am not that
She's
old.
my baby girl and she's 17.
I don't know why 17 feels a lot older than 16. Last year, 16 was just fine, but 17 feels like almost 18. I don't know. There's something about that 17, and she's in her senior year at high school, and whew, we're not going to talk about that right now, so let's just keep going. Whew, shoosh. Ha, we're done. Okay, so anyway, when this 17-year-old daughter was very young, she's always had this need when she goes to bed at night to have noise, and a fan isn't enough. The rest of us have fans, but she always wanted noise, and so we invested in Adventures in Odyssey. Now, at that time, Adventures in Odyssey came in CDs. And if you don't know what a CD is, it's a little round disc. No, I'm just kidding. Technology hasn't gone that far yet. We still know what CDs are. But so we would play those in a CD player at night across the room from her, but she could hear the stories and she would fall asleep. Now those Adventures in Odysseys can be downloaded on an iPad, put in on an iPod, and put in a little docking station. You know, technology has far exceeded anything that we thought. But my point is, when Grace would listen to Adventures in Odyssey at night, at first, as parents, we were like, seriously?
We're such bad
Should we be
parents.
letting her do this? But you know, even to this day, she can tell you Bible stories that we've never read to her. She quotes Adventures in Odyssey all the time. But I remember when I learned this on Adventures in Odyssey, because it is Bible stories wrapped up in the town of Odyssey. But anyway, you can look that up if you have a
Do
child
you remember when
that
we
age.
had that interview on Focus on the Family? And she was like 8, and she was like, well, do I get to go? And we're like, well, we don't know, honey. It's a television interview, a radio interview. And she's like, well, they're focused on the family, and they're not going to let your family come. She got to come, and she got to go on the
see
set of
Adventures in Odyssey, but that's not the point of this show.
Sure it is.
The point of this
My
show
daughter's
is
17, and
that
I want to remember.
Technology, yeah, now who's the weepy? Technology can be used for good, and because we have Pinterest, and you have the Apple Store, and if you have Droid, you have Droid stores, you can go on those, and you can look up apps that are good for your family. That's what we want to talk about today. Apps that are good for your family. Educational apps. Apps that'll help your kids in school. We see them all the time. Here's one that I've recently discovered. It's called Mom's Meals 365. It is an app that I can go and look at recipes, and then I can punch a little button, and it goes and puts all my little lists in a grocery store list. So then I just take my phone into the grocery store, and here's everything I'm going to make in a week. It's amazing. There's all kinds of organizational apps you can use, educational apps, all kinds of apps that are good for your family. And I know we talked about last week about embracing technology and using it for good. And so really want to encourage you to go on Pinterest. I went on Pinterest yesterday and I just went, educational app for kids. I couldn't believe how many there were about helping them with their school and their homework. For the older kids, for organizing, Grace uses an app for organizing her calendar because she has so much to do. So really looking for their apps. They can be good apps for us as families.
Well, and if there's one piece of advice that we could give parents of older children, junior high, high school, it's be aware of your child's social media presence. Follow them on Twitter. If they don't want you to follow them on Twitter, then say you can't be on Twitter. Follow them on Facebook. Watch what they're saying online because it can affect their grades. It can affect their academic eligibility, their athletic eligibility. You don't know how dangerous it is to not know what your kids are doing
And it doesn't
online.
take that much time. I follow Grace on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook, and I just check it every couple days just to see what's going on. Actually, we made her put my email in as her contact information. So when stuff happens on there, I see it through my email. And if that's the way you want to do it, so you don't have to have Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, you can make them put your email in there and it comes to your inbox. But really, that is very important.
Years ago, oopsie, a little fumble. Years ago, when I was a youth minister, my dad and I were youth ministers at the same time. Obviously, he was a little bit older. And when we would go to camps or conferences, we would play this game with young people where we would say, ask us any question in the world, we can answer it. Between the two of us, we know everything in the world. Well, we didn't. But we were really good at BS. And so they would ask a question, and one of us would answer, even if we didn't know the answer. And so now we can't do that anymore because of a little man by the name of John Google. All you have to do is Google the answer. But again, that's a great app When you're having a discussion as a family and you're like, how deep is the Grand Canyon? We need to go to the Grand Canyon as a family. How deep is it? Well, I think it's this deep. Just Google it, find out. A great app that we use is YouVersion Bible. It is a wonderful way to get daily devotions for your family. There are so many great apps out there. Yeah, it takes a little time to investigate them. Yeah, as older adults, you might be a little afraid to look at them and try them out. But find apps that are great for your family. YouVersion is one, and we would recommend it highly. Another one that I use all the time, and this is kind of a throwback to my grandmother. My grandmother, she read Our Daily Bread every day.
And it's an app.
Every day. There's an app for that, and I read it every day. It takes about 90 seconds to read. It's a very short little devotional, but find apps that work for you and your family and use them.
Technology is a part of back to school, so we got to embrace it. We got to learn how to use it. It just takes a little time and a little research and a little time on your part to make sure your kids are doing what they need to be doing on all these social media sites. Hey, we are Jay and Laura Laffoon. We're here for your life, your marriage, and your family, and we'll see you next week.